Today in the Meaningful Revolution, we're going to be talking about change. And in particular, that change requires boldness. And so many people play it too safe. So, what do I mean by that? Life is just a series of changes. You go from being a baby to learning how to walk to learning how to have a career and exist in this world somehow. And it's all about transformations. It's all about growth, intentional or unintentional consequences. And the people that end up being the highest performers, the most successful in business, in relationships, in life, can lean into those changes and find out how to make it work for them, whether that's learning how to be better going forward, learning a new strategy, learning a new tidbit of just human wisdom that they carry with them going forward. And when we're able to adapt and lean into change, that's when we end up living an extraordinary life and a life of meaning. That's what we talk about in the Meaningful Revolutions. How do we live a life of meaning with meaningful pursuits in furthering our purposes, our causes, our goodness out in the world? And when we figure this out, that's when we struggle with change and we get stuck or we get left behind or we end up being miserable because the org changed and we don't like our new team. And so we're not able to function as a professional, or somebody went to therapy and now is advocating for themselves in a new way. And we can't handle their changed behavior. And so the relationship goes up in flames, or we feel like no matter what we do, we're stuck. And when we're stuck and we believe that our actions don't lead to good things, it's hard to be motivated to change. And rightfully so, that's a very human response. That's why we need to be consistently aware and open to different perspectives and ways of doing things. So if you can lean into the change, you can see opportunities as they come up and take them versus being stuck in the old ways of thinking, of the old ways of working, of the old ways of existing. And thinking through this, I've been doing a lot of work in figuring out how tools like ChatGPT can really impact a relationship-based business like this. Right? The podcast part of my business, The Meaningful Revolution, it's easier to grok this. I'm also a high performance coach, and my job is to guide people through transformation. They want to start a business, they want to change careers, they want to have deeper and richer health or relationships. And I'm not an expert in any of those individually, but I am expert in a process that helps people discover those truths for themselves. And it's amazing. So the folks that I've been very fortunate to work with, it's been really fulfilling for me, but hugely transformational for them. All of that to say, that work has nothing to do with an AI coach, right? It has nothing to do with generative large language models or narrow versus wide based AI, right? And those are tools that are going to be impacting everyone's work currently, if not in the very near future, in my belief and estimation. And I can say this too, having had a 14-year career in technology and having to constantly manage the change, right? The stuff that I learned about computers growing up and in high school is completely different from the things that I learned in college for the two software engineering classes that I took. And that further on, everything that I learned at Walmart was old technology that was 40 years old versus cutting edge stuff. And all of that is now like super old compared to what we're doing now out in the world with all the different things. And without getting into all the technical things, like a lot of people now don't use Java or Visual Basic to create programs. People still do. That's stuff that I kind of learned on. I learned a HyperCard back in high school. And so things change. But with technology, there's always a new like computer language to learn. There's always new bits of software, new paradigms to learn. And doing that for 14 years in order to stay relevant. You had to figure out how to learn real quick, but you also had to learn how to have models in your head that helped you adapt to the new thing at the time. And prime example from software is a, the nuance of a computer language can be very nuanced, right? And it could require a lot of skill, but understanding that there's basic coding structures, there's if-then statements, there's how do you handle exceptions, basic high-level concepts really made it easy to be like, okay, if I write this same program in any language, it could be COBOL, it could be Python, it could be JavaScript, it could be Swift, it could be something that has yet to be invented. You can learn 90% of what you need by doing and covering all these different functionalities. And so it's the same with these AI tools. And the difference is how accessible it is, right? Before, you would need some type of experience or knowledge in computer science or programming yourself. Here, you can get away with not having learned all that and get in front of a tool like ChatGPT and say, hey, write me a hello world script in Python that will do that for you. And then ask it to do all those different things that I said. How would you handle an exception in Python? Can you show me? And boom, you got it. You don't have to sit and think through all the syntax and all the little things that drive you nuts when you were going through that I don't think people anymore have to do. But that's all to say, right? These tools, even though I have a relationship-based job, and went off on a tangent there for a second. These tools are fundamentally changing how I do business. From taking the video from this podcast and cutting it into clips that I could then post on any of the social medias, eliminating all the hours I spend editing to do a mediocre job. Because honestly, I'm not sure if you noticed, if you follow me on the YouTube channel, these videos are okay. They're not pretty. They're not anything like super high production value. It's just what I've been capable of. And I'm very proud of that work. But it's not like Hollywood level directed cinematography with scene changes and all that stuff. It's just a guy and a camera trying to help people in the world. But AI tools can help with some of that stuff. AI tools can help with a lot of the written communication or in the research of things, which has been very super interesting. And so all of that to say is that we're in a huge shift in how we work. And I firmly believe this. I've not been excited about anything in technology probably since the internet was created when I was created before, but became prominent when I was in middle school and high school. And so we're going to be living with the effects of this technology going forward. And the question is, what are you doing about it? How are you positioning yourself in your profession to capitalize and use this new thing to your benefit? Because I've been telling people that AI is not going to replace your job. It's going to be someone that can effectively use AI that will outproduce you, that'll do the work of 100 people on a team because it can scale your productivity that much. And that interests me as a high performance coach, and why we're talking about change requiring boldness, because it's scary, and I'm not going to address all of the things that we need to be concerned about it, because there is a lot of that too. We need to be level-headed about it. We need to understand what we're working with. But at the end of the day, we need to be embracing this change. And so I'll be talking a lot more about AI and how it changes the meaning of how we work as I'm exploring it. Like, I don't have that answer figured out 100%. I'm still working through it myself and talking with folks about it. And I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. So please, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, or if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, leave a comment for me so I can understand what you guys are thinking about or concerned about or excited about how things are changing, right? and how we can support you. Because ultimately, here's basically the land all the story is we can't control all the change going on around us, whether it's AI tools or job shifting or the economy or all those different things. But we can control how we approach it. We can't control what we do with these changes. And there's empowerment in that. And that's living a meaningful, fulfilling life is not being led astray when things shift, right? You can still find the meaning. You can still find the things that matter and impact in what you're doing. And we just need to double down on that. With that said too, like when it comes to change, it's a huge topic. There's so much that could go wrong. If you're thinking about changing your health, definitely talk to your health professionals. Or you're thinking about, oh, maybe you're dealing with some trauma. Maybe you need to talk to a mental health professional or therapist. If you're thinking about changing how you're doing your personal finances, please talk to your accountant and all those professionals. There's a lot of options, and this humble podcast can't cover every single scenario, but it can give you some things to think about as we move forward. Basically, I'm saying don't just quit your job because you're unhappy. Don't sell all your stock because you're going to make a big move. Don't decide to go from like barely getting outside every day to running 20 miles a week. These are our big changes, that boldness, what we are talking about. But we also want to make sure we're doing it smartly and not in a way that's going to do harm, because that's the furthest thing that I want to do. So that's it. Consult your experts in this. And really what comes down to being bold with change, I think there's really just one. I want to leave you guys with one thing today. And usually I leave you with 3 to 5, but there's one idea to really help manage change. It's to tap into that play, right? That sense of awe, that sense of fun that can happen when things are in flux. So in the AI example, go on ChatGPT today. You can sign up for free. It's like chat.openai.com. And ask it to tell a story about something that you've created, right? So come up with an idea of maybe it's an animal playing in a particular city or area, and it has a specific problem and you want it to have a moral to that story. It could be something that basic. You type into this thing and it'll come up with an amazing story and you can play from there. But it's quite amazing when you can get playing around with the stuff, what you can do with it. And a more serious note, like in my business, right? Because I'm talking about how this is changing how we might think and value how we work. I've found that it's sped up summarizing content that I do. So like the description for the podcast that I'm doing right now that you're listening to is generated from AI, right? But it's generated from this transcript. So it's still my words. It's just organized a little bit better, summarized a little bit more concisely, and done in 3 minutes versus an hour of me agonizingly trying to figure out like what was I actually saying that's really important. And so it's a way to speed up that particular workflow. And if you are a professional in today where you use a computer, and it could be you're using email or you're using like a Word document or pages or spreadsheets, these types of text-based processes can be accelerated through ChatGPT or Bard or any of the other AI tools. Get out and play. And I'll throw this out to you, like what in your life is important enough to try to figure out how to get better at, right? And that could be you want to be a better musician. It could be you want to be a better manager. You want to be a better cooler. There's all these different roles that we have. A better parent. And figure that out. And then my challenge to you is play around with ChatGPT and see if you can get anything that's thoughtful or insightful from interacting with it. What you do is you go, hey, you go into ChatGPT and you go, hey, you know what? I am working on becoming a better parent. What are the top 10 bits of parenting advice you could give me, and list links to and list your sources so I can understand where the information came from. Ask me any questions for clarity. Are you good with that? You hit enter and answer the questions, see what it spits out. I know you will be floored. You do that with woodworking, you do that with coding, you do that with any profession or any hobby. And I think just getting tactically involved with it will get you so far ahead of so many people right now that are resisting, and for good reason. But that's not you. So, all that said, just go out and have fun and play around with this thing. And don't be so afraid of it that you don't act. And I'll say that again. Don't be so afraid of these tools. Don't be so afraid of change that you get stuck and do not act, because it's that creation, that kinetic, physical thing that we do as humans, we find meaning in oftentimes. Even if we're not sure what the meaning is, the act of doing helps us get a little bit of that clarity. And that's something that I'm constantly doing again with my clients. So if you guys are struggling with a particular change, if you're thinking like, how is my job going to be impacted by a tool like ChatGPT, definitely get in and play. If you want some more advanced thinking on it, you could always go and let's get on a strategy call. We can talk about your life. We can talk about the things that you're after and how maybe coaching or one of my other programs can help you guys get to that next level. And so just go to SeanButler.com/coaching. Just scope out that free strategy session. And I want you guys to know too that since you are on the podcast, soon I'll be releasing a ChatGPT course for professionals. So I'll have more on that soon, but I just wanted to tease that for y'all. And yeah, I'm looking towards probably the end of August when it'll all be said and done. But there'll be things up before then as I'm testing things out and making sure that it makes sense. So keep an eye out for that, guys. Go out and play, have fun, lean into those changes. Change requires boldness, and you don't want to play it small, and you don't want to get stuck in resisting the change. So you might as well have a little bit of fun with it. So go out there and play. And this is Sean Butler saying we'll see you guys next week on The Meaningful Revolution. Yes.